Buckle up. We got a situation going on right now. It's a scandal that we don't know much about yet, and I'm honestly scared. Scared of what we're going to eventually find out. Scared of the possibilities of what we could find out. So out of absolutely nowhere, at least to the public, after the Dodgers' first game of the season in Seoul, South Korea a few days ago, it was reported that Shohei Ohtani's translator had been fired due to stealing his money, millions of dollars, in order to place bets with an illegal bookmaker, Matthew Boyer, who is the target of a federal investigation. Now, immediately, for about 30 minutes, the story seems simple. Ippei Mazahara, Ohtani's longtime translator, stole $4.5 million to fund this illegal bookmaker, something that would also entail one of Ohtani's closest friends betrayed him. Because Ippei isn't just Ohtani's translator, that's actually just a small part of his job. As professional of a relationship as they have together, Ippei is practically best friends with Ohtani and has even said he's with the guy more than he's with his own wife. All through the season, all through the offseason, Ippei has basically become Ohtani's sidekick over the years, and a pretty known figure as well, simply because of that. So to hear he was doing this was sad, but it doesn't seem to be that simple. Part of what made this so bizarre is how quickly it unfolded. Ippei was in the Dodger dugout during the first game, everything seemed fine, and pretty soon after the original report came out, a video of Ippei and Shohei together in the Dodger dugout during the game made the rounds and showed the two obviously were cool with one another. It wasn't the type of interaction between someone who knew the other guy was stealing money from him. So it all unraveled really that fast? Well, apparently after the game, a bunch of Dodger team personnel, the front office, ownership, all held a meeting with the team in the clubhouse, basically saying that there was a big negative story coming, and that's when it was Ippei's turn to speak, telling the team that it was his fault and that he has a gambling addiction. This is where the story has different sides to it. According to Tisha Thompson, who's all over this story and who works for ESPN, a team official that was interviewed and others present at this meeting said that Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, stood up and said Ohtani had helped to cover Ippei's losses. Ohtani's spokesperson has a different story though, telling ESPN that on the way back to the hotel, Ohtani started asking questions about what had been said in the clubhouse. Apparently he was confused, and that's when Ohtani told him he didn't recognize Ippei's version of the events. What's confusing though is that the crisis communications spokesman for Ohtani, who had just been hired, originally said that Ohtani did in fact pay the debts on behalf of Ippei, with that same spokesman literally quoting Ohtani as saying, "Yeah, I sent several large payments, that's the maximum amount I could send." But after the first report dropped, Ohtani's spokesman and a Dodgers official said that Ohtani's representatives had kept relying on Ippei to communicate with Ohtani while they were dealing with this whole situation, and Ippei did not tell Ohtani what was happening. So according to Ohtani's representatives, Wednesday, when the news dropped, was the first time he realized that money was missing from his account, telling ESPN not to publish the original story they had ready, insisting that Ippei was lying and that Shohei did not know. And this is when it's reported that Ohtani was a victim of massive theft, and his lawyers were turning the matter over to authorities. What was that original story ESPN had cooked up ready to go, you ask? Well, they had interviewed Ippei for an hour and a half right before the first game of the season over the phone, and he told basically everything. According to Ippei in this interview, and it's important to specify that, Ippei in this interview would tell ESPN that he met Boyer, the bookmaker who's under investigation, who actually had his house raided by the FBI late last year, at a poker game in San Diego in 2021, saying that he started betting with Boyer on credit shortly after they met, placing wagers on several sports, but not baseball. Ippei made sure to specify that, claiming he knew it wasn't allowed, so he stayed away from betting on baseball. Ippei added on that he previously bet on DraftKings and didn't know Boyer's operation was illegal. And speaking of DraftKings, ironically, I want to give a huge shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring this video. We're rapidly approaching the baseball regular season, and if you're looking for a place to get in on the action, look no further than the DraftKings Pick 6 app, a brand new way to play daily fantasy with DraftKings Pick 6. All new customers get a deposit match of 100% of up to $100 with a deposit of just $5 or more. That's right, if you deposit anywhere from $5 to $100, DraftKings Pick 6 will match it in credits, and getting started is about as easy as it gets. All you gotta do is download the app, the Pick 6 app of course, use code iTalk, promo code ITALK, as you can see right here. Then you can select anywhere from 2 to 6 players from any sport that you want to play with, and see if they're going to have more or less of a stat. And from there, well, you just sit back, relax, watch your lineup, and compete against others for big prizes. One more time, that's code iTalk in all caps at the DraftKings Pick 6 app for a 100% deposit match of up to $100. The crown is yours. At the time, Ippei's salary with the Angels was about $85,000, but by the end of 2022, he had lost over $1 million and was borrowing money from friends and family. These are words from Ippei during the interview. Quote, "I couldn't share this with Shohei. It was hard for me to make my ends meet. I was going paycheck to paycheck because I kind of had to keep up with his lifestyle, but at the same time, I didn't want to tell him this," end quote. By early 2023, Ippei's debt went up to $4 million, and that's when he went to Shohei for help. In the interview, Ippei said he feared losing Ohtani's trust and feared for his safety, fearing someone could come to his house over this situation. So he explained the situation to Ohtani, with Shohei of course not being happy with it, but telling him he'd help him. And when asked if Ohtani knew the money Ippei needed money to give to was a bookie, he claims he didn't have a clue, with Ippei also claiming he just told Shohei he needed to send a wire to pay off the debt, and Shohei didn't question anything or ask if it was illegal, which of course seems very reckless and irresponsible to not ask where exactly that money was going. I get that Ohtani trusted Ippei, but, and again, this is just one version of the story, but if this version of the story is true, to without question just give off millions to pay off someone and you don't know the situation is very irresponsible. You know what else would be irresponsible? Enjoying this video and not subscribing to the channel. Shohei himself actually said that once. So if you enjoy this video, hit that subscribe button to keep up with everything that's great about baseball. And everything that's negative too, I guess. So in this interview, Ippei says Ohtani paid off his debts with about 8 or 9 transactions of $500,000 over the course of several months. Ippei called it embarrassing and even said his wife didn't know about any of this until now, saying he would eventually pay back Ohtani, while also adding that Ohtani has never gambled and thinks it's terrible, bringing up that Ohtani would see his own teammates gambling and ask them, "Why are you doing this? It's not good." And whenever he was asked to go to casinos on road trips, he always declined. So again, all of this that was said by Ippei himself to ESPN in that interview was just before game 1 of the season in Korea, like hours before. Afterward is when that meeting in the clubhouse happened. Ippei addresses the team, is fired, and that's where we're hearing that Ohtani did not know about what was going on. So because of this obvious contradiction to Ippei's original story and Ohtani's spokesman telling ESPN not to publish it, ESPN reached back out to Ippei, and during this phone call, or I think it was actually a text conversation this time, basically walked back everything he had said hours earlier, saying he lied in the last interview and that Ohtani had no knowledge of his gambling activities, debts, or efforts to repay that debt. And when asked if he had been accused of theft or embezzlement, he says that he has been told not to comment, but declined to say who told him that. In the ESPN article by Tisha Thompson, this was part of the conversation. Ippei says, "Obviously this is all my fault. Everything I've done, I'm ready to face all the consequences." He's asked, "When did Ohtani become aware of the situation?" "They told me I can't answer anything." "Ohtani's representatives? Are they representing you?" "No." "Are you taking any form of payment to tell me these things?" "No." "Have you made any kind of agreement to say these things?" "No." "You're doing this of your own volition and free will?" "Yes." "Did you bet on baseball?" "No." "Did you lie to Shohei?" "Yes." And when asked if he has ever purposely misinformed Ohtani while interpreting the issues the reporter is asking about, Ippei responded, "No, I have never done that." He's then asked, "Did you take the money from Shohei's accounts without his knowledge?" No response. So what on earth is going on here? The obvious consensus among most people, it seems, is there's at least something we don't know. Whether it's one thing, multiple things, this story and timeline clearly isn't adding up. Ippei gives an entire 90-minute interview explaining how the story went, then completely walks back all of it and says it was all a lie, and Ohtani's representative says that he didn't know any of it. He didn't know there was some inquiry. Quote unquote, after the game, that's when he found out. He didn't know what the F was going on. Well, looks like now Major League Baseball is going to try and figure out what the F is going on. The league has opened up a formal investigation into Ohtani and Ippei, and is expected to request interviews with everyone involved, including Ohtani and Ippei, although both guys actually have the right to refuse cooperation with the investigation. As for Ippei, officials can't force it since he no longer works for baseball. And as for Ohtani, he's a member of the MLB Players Association, and I guess that's a reason. I didn't know that, but the league announced this launch of an investigation, and Ohtani's representative said that they had officially submitted the allegation to law enforcement, but did not say to which authorities exactly. ESPN has since snooped around trying to find that out, which they haven't. So will Ohtani be put on administrative leave for this, meaning he can't play but he'll still get his salary while the investigation is ongoing? The short answer is no. The long answer is no, because Ohtani has not been accused of dealing directly with the bookmaker, and there is no evidence that any of the bets were made on baseball. So the league doesn't see a need to take him off the field at this moment, which makes sense. Right now, this seems like a massive Ippei problem with a slight implication that Ohtani may have done something wrong, so it's unlikely. Not the other way around. But all of this, of course, just leaves you asking more questions than you probably came in with. Why did Ippei give a big interview and say a ton of things he immediately walked back? How exactly did Ohtani not know about these payments and wire transfers adding up to at least $4.5 million coming out of his own bank account? Did he really just find out when Ippei addressed the clubhouse and was confused? Obviously, some think he could be covering up for Ohtani because he realizes what Ohtani did was illegal, even if he just did it out of the kindness of his heart, not realizing how serious the situation was in a legal sense. Or maybe, and this is of course the biggest, most out there conspiracy theory, Ippei is covering for Ohtani because Ohtani himself was the one gambling with his illegal activity. And even more out there, he was betting on baseball, which would of course be the ultimate sin. So those are the theories, the thoughts people are having. Everything seems fishy and worrisome. And this is the last person baseball wants or needs to be dealing with in this kind of controversial light. And my God's honest opinion from gathering all the info, I don't believe Shohei intentionally did anything bad. The worst case scenario for him is that he did do something illegal but legitimately didn't know. He had no idea. I just can't accept the idea Ohtani was knowingly giving money to an illegal betting company or betting himself illegally with anything, let alone baseball. I don't know that, but I strongly believe it. Now, I know some might be like, oh, well, Ohtani was too squeaky clean and perfect of a guy. Something had to be wrong with him. And to that I say, nah, many people, are really as great and drama-free as Shohei. It's realistic. But at the end of the day, there are unanswered questions. This whole situation seems complicated, and I'm kind of scared to find out what the real truth is. As much as I believe Shohei didn't do anything wrong, the chance that he did do something wrong horrifies me, and I'm sure it scares the league too. I mean, we're literally talking about an international superstar, baseball's golden boy, and I will go with that until further notice. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.